briefly describe or discuss some theories about second language acquisition. So let's briefly discuss this and let's have a walkthrough. So the first thing we have discussed about nature and nurture. So actually these are two contestations in language learning. Is language naturally occurring or is it innate? That's actually nature. Is it also nurtured or something like acquired through interaction with our parents or interaction with humans through imitation? So that's actually under nurture. So under nurture theory, we have behaviorist theory. What is this? So let's check it out. So let's open this PDF. So I'm gonna share you this one. So behaviorist theory on language learning and acquisition is actually the belief that, of course, we learn or we have acquired language through our caretakers, actually our family, and that's through imitation. So as we grow older, if we don't have access to first language speakers, maybe we haven't learned about taking in or learning or acquiring language. So it is important that we have to look at the infant's development here. So infants learn oral language from other human role models here. So if the people around this particular person or human being, or actually an infant, is talking in Tagalog, then most likely the infant will speak in Tagalog. Same as when we try to, delimit, we try to impose strict restrictions onto the language that we use to communicate with a baby or with a child. So if we only impose English, particularly if even if we're Filipinos and we try to impose a specific English learning environment to an infant, most likely he will speak English. So that's under behaviorist theory. What about the background of this behaviorist theory? Well, actually, it has something to do with the rewards system. So if we have to show affection, we have to pronounce a particular word this way, most likely the kid will imitate it. And we give more reinforcements through praises and affection as a form of rewards. Okay, so I repeat, praise and affection becomes forms of reward. So a student, or I mean a baby, will be compelled to speak when he or she wants something in return. So that is in a form of expression or getting something. So he or she is more compelled to communicate. For example, the baby needs milk, the baby needs food. Definitely, he or she would start to mimic how the adults would refer to this particular thing that he or she needs. Okay, so we have here the supporters of the behaviorist theory. We have Bloomfield and Skinner. Actually, on behaviorist theory, Skinner is very famous. Yeah, B.F. Skinner. So he's an active advocate or proponent of behaviorism. Okay, let's get it on. So, what can you see about this goed, went, doed, did? Actually, we call this overgeneralizations. Why? Because as the infant grows up, he or she develops the rules of language, but yeah, he acquires or learns the rules of language, but not in a matter of self-correction or autocorrection, but through usage. So he might say that the past tense of go is goed. We call that overgeneralization. Okay? And so that the thing overgeneralization is when the child learns that there are rules in language. So when an adult would correct him, no, it's not goed, it's went. So the child would eventually realize that language has rules. So that's under overgeneralization. Okay, what about the tenets of behaviorist theory? You can read all of this. Okay, behaviorist theory is the habit formation theory of language teaching and learning. So this reminds us that in the language classroom environment, it's very important the role of teachers as, models of language usage. So they have to speak with their kids and they have to make sure that the language classroom environment is active and that the students are compelled to speak in the target language. So English must be taught in an English class. Okay, and all of that are actually a result, and the strategies in teaching English are results of, discovery and exploration in the best strategies to be used in English language learning. So these are all, suggestions in general, but, finding the most effective strategy in teaching English or teaching language curricula is still much should match the needs and what suits best for the students. Okay, that's my belief. So there are other counter arguments on behaviorist theory on language. So you could actually see all of this and you can read them. Okay, so that's the behaviorist theory. All right, what about the other things about the evolution of brain and language? Well, let's just take a look. Okay, so in this reading, we have discussed this before. Yeah, so under nurture, we have said that the brain develops, and as it develops, it naturally acquires language. So we have discussed the brain size. We have discussed about the 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 brain part that accommodates language learning. So that's the left brain. So yeah, you can see here the location of the brain. Yeah, the language processing areas in the brain. So we have here aphasia. I mean, yeah, we have Broca's aphasia, wherein the person may not have a clear speech but he understands what's being talked about, and Wernicke's aphasia, where a person could speak fluently but without understanding or comprehension. Well, aphasia is a result of a stroke or an accident. Okay, it's the loss of speech and comprehension. Okay, we have discussed that a lot of times. Okay, so take a look at the scan over this reading, take a look at it, and of course, read it on your own. Okay, next, let's look at language theories, language acquisition theories. What about this PDF? Well, this is very short PDF. Same thing, we have discussed this, the innateness theory or nativist theory. What else? What does it talk about? Well, input theory, you can read it. Cognitive theory, it's about mental processes. What else? The development of language to a child. Well, of course, that depends on the caretakers, the people whom he talks about, and the environment, the speech environment that support, you know, a speech community. Less. Next, second language acquisition, reconciling the theories. You can read here second language acquisition theories. One, behaviorism. We also have acculturation, like for example, when you're from the Philippines and you move to Japan, and can you learn Japanese automatically? Of course not. But because you often hear the language used in daily conversations, in the marketplace, or in the school, you may, in a way, acquire or learn the language components or the vocabs of the language of the place where you have migrated. That's acculturation. What about universal grammar hypothesis? The universal grammar hypothesis works that, of course, there is actually a part of the brain which has the capacity to acquire language from the environment. Okay, that's the UG, universal grammar. Okay, it is actually a processor of mind that contains language. You can just look at this one. Yes, and read about it. We also have comprehension hypothesis. We also have interaction hypothesis, and this is actually interaction with the native speakers. So for example, if you are non-native speakers of English, we have to interact with the native speakers of English. So the more access that we have with native speakers of English, like watching movies on YouTube and giving your kid, even though he's a Filipino and he speaks Ilocano, but you give him, a lot of media that speak in English, that are actually produced in English, then he or she most likely will acquire English because of the amount of exposure into that language. So be aware, you guys, if you want your kids someday to speak English, yeah, feed them with a lot of multimedia stuff. What about hypothesis or lingualization? Well, you can read about that. Sociocultural theory, that's actually the impact of the society where you live in. And of course, in the Philippines, we are multilingual because we had been colonized. So that's part of our multicultural or multilingual society. I think it is a good advantage that we are multilingual. But yeah, that's another discussion. Yeah. Second, language acquisition as a chaotic complex system. Well, just look at this one. So probably this is how a brain of a person looks like if he is a multilingual. But definitely, if you're a multilingual, it's a good advantage because you have many ways of thinking. So that's one advantage of being a multilingual. All right. So the best part here is that we just have to embrace who we are. We have to capitalize on our linguistic on our linguistic competence. So if you can speak English, you just have to polish your skills, whatever that skill is. Communication skills, speaking, talking, writing, reading, and all the like stuff. Just have to practice it because that is a good avenue for you and a medium or a tool to communicate with the world, to express more of yourself, and to be able to open up more opportunities working abroad and developing yourself. But if you'd like to talk with other people, like within your community, of course you can use your mother tongue. And in national context, you can always speak Tagalog. But if you would like to acquire more like a foreign language, like Chinese, Mandarin, or Japanese, or like French or Spanish, you are free to do so. Just know that you are capable of acquiring and learning more languages. Language is fun. It is kind of boring, but definitely you'll love it. Okay, so that ends our video. Enjoy! I hope you learned from me. Bye!